culture clash coming about. That's what I'm just tying on when I go into this. I'm not trying to like spread division, but whatever happens, happens. What I'm just saying from my point of view is that dang, a lot of people got a lot of different opinions, and these opinions are going to shape the culture. So here we are to tie it on down and see
I
what
said,
is
I
in
thought it
the
was a South
muck.
American country, but you said no, it's a
Quite
Caribbean.
offended. It is a Caribbean country.
It's a Caribbean. Can you explain that?
Yes, Guyana, because it was colonized by the British. They brought enslaved people over mainly from Ghana, which is where my great grandmother came from. She was enslaved.
Wait. I gotta listen to this video. So this is a video of somebody uploading a video from One Africa. And they're saying that these tethers, and I just learned what tethers meant last week watching my friend video. A tether, and like I'm saying, it's this new culture thing that's trying to bubble up. These new personalities bubbling up in culture. I mean, opinions bubbling up that's going to form a culture now that we're going to have to deal with. And tethering is people that's come to America and latching off the achievements of African Americans that been here before the immigrants got here. So that's the hard raw version of what it means. So this person is re-uploading a video of somebody else saying these tethers and these. So just beware while be aware while you're watching the video.
At 7 years old with her mom, they went to Queenstown, Guyana. That's where they wound up. Actually, in Essequibo is where they ended up. And it was a British colony, and they enslaved people.
Isn't there French Guyana?
There's the French Guyana and a British Guyana. So the French Guyana is called Suriname.
Suriname.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're next to each other,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and they're right next to, and they're both on the coast of South America, but
yes.
they jut out into the Caribbean Sea, and because the British also colonized the islands that became Trinidad. Trinidad and Guyana have exactly the same culture. They have the same accent. They eat the same food. They both eat very Indian dishes because they had Indian
Roti.
slaves there too.
Yes.
So they had enslaved Indian people and enslaved black people from
coolies.
Africa, the coolies, and they worked together. Oh, they don't really get along always, but they intermarried, and so they're very Indian. They're very sort of Indian and black mixed culture, and the cultures are exactly the same. So
So
Guyana,
even though it's on the South America landmass,
it's physically on the landmass, but the culture is Caribbean.
Culture is Caribbean.
Yes, the culture is no different from Trinidad.
Yo, that rape and pillaging is no joke.
It's no joke.
But the people from Trinidad probably never even been. Some of the people from Trinidad probably never even heard of that other country.
I mean, they created these, like, the largest number
So
of.
when they coming up with their ideas about life and even their discriminations against other people, they probably don't understand where their culture is coming from, or that their culture exists outside of their landmass.
Black enslaved people is Brazil.
Brazil.
Right, and so there were far more Brazilian enslaved people than in the United States of America, but they were in Canada. They were all throughout the Caribbean. They created so Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, like all these countries that were British colonies, the British Virgin Islands, these are all the colonies they created, and the cultures are very similar. They have a lot of redundancy, but the places where when black.
But I'll say this too. I can see where things is going amok with the foundational Black American opinions that are popping up a lot of times. Is that this happened hundreds of years ago. And what a lot of the FBA people are saying is that the achievements made after those hundreds of years, like by the people that was here, and then it was a next wave of immigration that came after the civil rights movement. So after the civil rights movement, more immigrants started being able to be allowed to come to America with visas, or they snuck here or whatever. They wouldn't get kicked out. They'll be promoted, sometimes given money, or just a place, just an opportunity to do something more with their life. But what America didn't tell these people when they came over was that the brown skinned dark people, and a mix of other people too, created a lot of the things, including the civil rights movement, that allowed them to come over. So the conversations are getting very muddied when people are not talking enough, because yes, us as black people that's been here for a long time are a mix of different cultures already. Because Spain was over here, there's different African cultures, different indigenous cultures already over here. The Cherokee, the Wanumpas, the all of those things, the that then was changed into Spanish names like Mexico and stuff. They was already over here. So we was already a mix of slaves and people, and even before the slaves, just living around. But during the time when the colonizers was shipping people and playing the Sims with people life patterns and cultures, that is who we are. Like, we're a mix of a lot of people to be Black Americans, to be American, period. So they're trying to defend the point by saying we're all the same. But people that had to struggle and stuff and see other people come up with money and get good opportunities, or not have that struggle mind state to begin with, will look at the new immigrants and say, hey, like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all taking all our jobs. Or people will think that they better than one another. Like, hey, we doing all of these things and making a good opportunity for our family. Y'all been here all this time. What's wrong with y'all? And then that's when the name calling came into place. And then people will try to sound all educated. Well, we came here all a long time ago. And so why y'all worried about now? And not have the vernacular or the processing to talk about now. Because it was too much happening now. You ever been too much of a situation happening now that it's like something not right about it, you go with, and then later you're able to process with actual words, ideas, and feelings about how it was and how you actually felt as a kid?
Trinidad and Guyana are
Just
two of those places. And
I know, I'm
Indians
talking
and
a lot.
blacks don't really get along. They sort of fight for dominance.
He said, hey, you well, I'll keep saying hey, you well. Said culture now is mostly from impoverished people that are mixed up, and how major groups want to use people for industry to advance the system that is now. Man, you summed that up nice, bro. Yeah.
We all eat plants.
Well,
Everybody's connected by the
A
big...
bunch of poor people coming along, and poor just is a mentality. Like, a lot of people want to do a lot of things with life, but if you don't have the tools and the knowledge, you just won't be able to. It's not that you're just like, man, I always want to live poor. You just don't have the knowledge, the tools, and the opportunities to see the opportunity that's right there all the time. So now other people come along, they can fill ideas. Just look at gang culture on a bigger scale. We say the police is a big world gang, politics is a big world gang. How about poor? How about people that run culture is a gang that create other gangs? It's gangs and then it's gang.
Big banana connects us
Wait,
all.
I'll be right back.
Everyone eating plantain. You are African, whether you like it or not.
Your makeup's gonna get messed up.
It's plantain, it's maduros, it's plantain, plátano, it's tostones.
Why you messing up her makeup, man?
And
you
in-
know,
and-
but,
and- and
you,
sure
but
enough-
you know where else? You know where else we're seeing that though? That same type of division where you're talking about the Indians and with the
blacks and
the black and Indians. We're seeing the same thing here in the United States, though,
Hell
with
yeah.
black Africans, black immigrants. We're seeing a lot of that, and a lot of that has to do. We were talking about that. There's
Colonialism.
not a lot of information. And I don't say information, teachings of colonialism and how colonialism destroyed Africa. And likewise, in Africa, there's not like a lot of going on about the civil rights, right? Because you're all the way in Africa. So when the two come together, it's like, this thing that's happened,
And I think the difference is that there are three sort of sets of black people that are in the diaspora. They're the Africans who were enslaved in their own home.
Yes.
If you were Kikuyu or you were, a Xhosa person in South Africa, they enslaved your ass right there. And when they were done enslaving you, you got rid of them for the most part. They either left or they left behind their colonial system, but they colonized you in your own place where you live. Then you have the people who were stolen, and you either went to a country like a Brazil or to the Caribbean, and so you experienced just horrific, degrading slavery, but that was about enslaving people and then using their bodies up and then letting them die and then going and getting more.
Yeah.
And so you had a more holistically black culture because you really maintained your Africanness in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then when you died, they just went and got a different person. You weren't like being bred like cattle.
Yeah.
Chattel slavery really only took place in the United States and Canada,
that was like-
but mainly, right? And so this is a different mentality. These people were told that
Take a
slavery
little
was
pause.
endemic to being black. The African Americans were sort of taught or told that just being black or having any African ancestry meant that you were endemically a slave forever. That
Yeah, they did kind of teach that. They did preach that. They did preach that a lot. That African American history started with slavery, and that before they were slaves, they didn't really do too much in Africa. They didn't really talk about the tribes and the history, how rich it was and culture. It was just like slave to slave, slave, slave. And that's y'all history. So passing that down, that mentality was very heartbreaking for a lot of people. And they had to build up strengths through character types that was built on division. Division and separations. Divisions and separations. And fear. Instead of welcoming arms and knowledge to build with each other and see what else is possible. See what else is possible in the diaspora of things. And then she was talking about the other Africans that was enslaved in their own households. And then they had to grow up and then be a part of the world once that was all over. And what was the third one she said?
is not the case as much system, but they colonized you in your own place where you live. Then you have the people who were stolen, and you either went to a country like a Brazil or to the Caribbean, and so you.
What was
This
the one
thing just
before that?
happened, you know?
She
And I
just
think
named
they
two.
lived in their own home.
Yeah.
A more holistically black culture because you really maintained your Africanness in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then when you died, they just went and got a different person. You weren't like being bred like cattle.
Yeah.
Chattel slavery really only took place in the United States and Canada,
that was like-
but mainly, right? And so this is a different mentality. These people were
Oh, and what she's saying, the slave mentality back then, they was replaceable in Africa. In America, they was working with genetics.
told that slavery was endemic to being black. The African Americans were sort of taught or told that just being black or having any African ancestry meant that you were endemically a slave forever. That was not the case as much in the Caribbean or in Africa. They knew they had a 1,000-year-old culture on these African countries to fall back on to say we're not endemically enslaved people. We don't come from slavery. Whereas in America they tried to cut.
So that's the third one she mentioning. It's a group of Africans that know about their spirituality, their stories that their 20 times great grandma been passing down, grandpa's been passing down. So when somebody else tells them a story on this is how you've been in your history and what's in your genes, they're able to have something else to combat that. They're able to have their own history and memories. While it's two other groups of of Africans that went through something totally different, where their history was cut off. They was treated as disposable. They was treated as disposable, and that their history started only at a certain point to be relevant. And then when it comes to the Africans, that's even deeper, because then it goes back to what was going on with mixing with the indigenous cultures that were there. For the kids, the grandkids that was born in America to know who they really are. That they not just Africans, or that being just African wasn't a bad thing to begin with. It's something to put on them so that while they walking around, they feel not so proud about themselves. So now somebody else that seems though they have a little more going on can tell them what to do, especially when they have a whip, or when they whip their grandma and that was passed down to, all right, this is just what we don't want to do, this is what we don't want to talk about. So then after like a couple hundred years, the history is kind of muddied up with the black African American, regardless of achievements or not. Like, where is the lineage from? And you see a lot of people popping up on YouTube and different research topics, avenues now, on saying how different cultures mixed, how the census was messed up purposely back then. The U.S. Census, they would just label people what they wanted to label them to get it over with. They just cared about the whites and stuff like that. Everybody else was just made up, and they started making up new terms and classifications over time.
Them off from their Africanness and said that Africanness doesn't matter. You're just a slave. Your whole history is a slave. You never learn anything about what your ancestral origins were or what kingdoms you came from. You never learned that. You just learned slavery, 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 slavery. And so black slavery in the U.S. was just unique.
Yeah.
But the other thing I think that people who are from like where our families are from, what they don't recognize is that that kind of slavery caused African Americans to produce, I would say, the most dominant cultural force that's ever lived.
And that's why we see it spread. That's why we see it spread everywhere.
It's everywhere, and it
So,
doesn't.
and what they talking about debate, talking about these tethers, like the lady saying, wait, why y'all mad at? She talking. You just gotta listen to the whole thing, maybe, just maybe, because now she's saying, yeah, the culture that pain creates magic. Check out the magician. When you're under pressure, it's gonna create that diamond. And we've been under a lot of pressure over time, trying different things again, and torn down, Black Renaissance and everything, coming back up. So now, when it comes to having to do something and show out, it's a good mix. I thought I heard y'all. Hey, it's a good mix.
It comes from Africa endemically, right? The food, the rice, the dishes they eat, the oxtail, everything. There's an Africanness to it, but its origin story is America.
Yeah.
And so they create this thing that is, up until a certain, we didn't even say African American when I was growing up. People would say, they used to say Negro, then they said African American, and blacks kind of rejected that. The term that Black Americans like is black.
They like black, yep.
And so because it rolls
Was it
over.
Jesse brought up African American? Jesse Jackson.
Yeah, it was this idea of saying we're African, but in America. But African, when I was growing up, being African was not cool. Us little four little Africans. We got made fun of. Right? So they were like, oh, you African booty scratcher. They used like that. Remember the African booty scratcher? Because they
They used to say that when I was young. I was like, yo.
Because African
Watching those
Americans
commercials.
trace their ancestry to Mississippi, to Alabama, to America.
Yeah.
But what they did is they took, there are 2,500 different indigenous groups in Africa. It's the most biodiverse continent on the planet. There's no more biodiversity anywhere like Africa.
That's right.
And so people who were in those ships came from like some people, my people are Hausa, my father people are Hausa, some people are Igbo, some people are so we're Hausa people, right? So that's how we identify, you know what I mean? They all, you take a Hausa person, an Igbo person, a Yoruba, and you throw them all in a ship. And they may speak each other's language or they may not, but they come from different tribes. You throw them all together, stick them in a slave ship, strip them of their identity. In a generation, they're not Hausa, they're not Igbo, they're not Yoruba, they're just black.
Black, yeah.
And so this culture of blackness, of American blackness,
It's a real culture.
is powerful.
Right.
It's a new tribe. It's a unique tribe, and we need to respect
There's
it.
some Africans that would say, you don't have a culture. Black Americans do. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Come on.
Because half of you copy it.
Copy it.
Everybody copies Black American
It is
Yes.
powerful
culture.
because you said it's
You're
powerful.
talking
There's
about-
something different and magnetic about
Yeah.
it. You know,
It's
Like,
magnetic. It's
yeah.
a new tribe. They literally took out of many one. You want to talk about what's out of many one? It's all the, and look, they did the same with the white people, because white people were all different. They were, French, and they were German, they were Bavarian, they hated each other's guts, and they amalgamated them all into something called white. And then they amalgamated all of the blacks into something called black. They invented these things. These things didn't exist until the 16th
construct,
century, and they're all false. They're not real. But they took away the thing that most humans organize themselves by, which is tribe.
Yeah.
And that is gone in America. You're just white or you're black. And Black American culture is, again, it's the most dominant culture that's ever existed. It created rock and roll, soul music, country music, half the food we eat. Most of what we do in this country that makes us American is black people created it.
Guyana, because earlier
That comment at the top is still cracking me up. We are not the same. Nobody is the same but the same. Let me see what these people say.
On my other page, I made a video about Houston on, what I didn't like about it and why I chose to move from the South back over here to the West Coast. But within those talking points, it made me think about the conversation between FBA people and the rest of the black diaspora, Africans, Caribbeans, all that stuff, right? How can Tariq Nasheed, the rest of the FBA people, talk all of that shit about African people, Caribbean people, and how they live and what they do in their way of life, while blatantly ignore?
I'm sorry, the music. I can't get copyrighted. I can't.
Hello, welcome to my page. This is Supreme God King Olaron. Today, I want to address something I hear a lot from those.
I'm sorry, that's 25 minutes long.
You said something earlier in an answer where you said that you talk about native blacks. And so that clearly sounds as if you are delineating native blacks versus someone that comes here from Bermuda or Jamaica or wherever they may they may come from that is black.
That's right.
And the purpose of that is what? Because you're on the surface, it would be like, hey, everybody here that's black gets treated a certain way. Why are you making that delineation?
That is an excellent point. You know why? Because you see, those people coming in from Jamaica or coming in from Africa, they have not been treated like black folk in this country. That's the first thing. And secondly, historically, they haven't had those historical experiences. They come in here voluntarily. When they come in here, they bring some cultural aspects from Africa. They can go back anytime they want. But the black people in this country have been exceptional people. Nobody's been mistreated, maltreated like them. Black folk are exceptional. They're the only people that came here forcefully, one. Two, they're the only people that denied their humanity. Three, they were the only people denied a right to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Four, they were the only people denied the right to participate in government. Five, they were the only people denied the right to vote. Six, they were the only people denied the right to have an education. Seven, they were the only people denied the right to have a business. Eight, they were the only people that participated in every war that this country has had since its founding, but whose mother country has never been against this country. All those immigrants come from countries where they fought America, and they came in. And the seven, that they are the oldest and most patriotic people in the country. Not the Confederates in the South. They're not the most patriotic people waving the Confederate flag. The most patriotic people in this country are black people, native blacks, because you see 99% of all those blacks have been direct descendants of slaves. They've been here before 99% of all the other people ever arrived in this country. They are special people. And because they're special people, they need to be recognized, appreciated, and reparated for what they've done in this country and building this country. They're the ones that built the bridges, the roads, cut the timber, the trees, and cleared the land, raised the tobacco, cotton, indigo. They're the people that fought in every war to protect this country. The people coming from Africa or coming from Jamaica didn't. They came here voluntarily. And the most important point on this is if you lump them with black folk, then you give the dominant white society a justification to say we don't owe black folk anything. Mm-hmm. Because you see, the blackness that's native, black people's blackness is more than just color. It is their heritage, it's their history, it's their code of conduct, and more importantly, it is their badge of honor, and it's what it symbolizes the indebtedness that this country has to them. This country does not have an indebtedness to people coming from Africa. They only have an indebtedness to people coming in from the Bahamas. If you lump black folk in there, you deprive black folk of the benefit, the debt that's owed them. Don't do that.
You are spitting fire.
Let's tie that down. He really, he said a lot right there. He said a lot right there because when a group of people feel pain for a long time, eventually they're going to form a coalition of sorts. But the thing that I see a lot of different things going on, it's going to be different people kind of grasping onto this FBA idea. It's going to be educated people like him. It's going to be people that's just sitting in a room that never really read a history book. And it's going to be people that grew up being discriminated against growing up. And it's going to be people that wasn't being discriminated against growing up. So like going to be like 4 different groups of people that's in this FBA opinion group coalition that's coming up. Because this is the first time that they said at the movie awards that it wasn't a British black actor that won an award. Because, the British black actors, we always think they're American for the longest of time. They cut off their accent. They get all into their mode, they mood and everything. and they talk just like an American. Then you see them in the interview, they say, "Hey," like, "Wait a second, Ibris, who are you?" But this is the first time. So when it comes to culture being spread, I kind of went over that on the last podcast. If y'all want to check that out, about culture being spread through TV and TV. And a lot of it wasn't even the internet mostly back then. So the culture was being shipped out to people that didn't know the history of who they was watching. And just like a kid in America watching Peppa Pig, and remember there was a big study saying, hey, people in Peppa, is your kid talking British like Peppa Pig? Is people over there that start talking like that, like a black American? Because they watch the TV and the shows, and the people with the millions of dollars, the production companies, they hyped it up. I was just watching something about fashion, because it was this guy that was talking about, probably not going to come right up, but he was talking about how fashion in the 90s and stuff, and the hip-hop culture, how they used to take,
You said something
or
earlier.
how they used to take people straight off the streets that was dressed and like dripped out and stuff, and then get them on the runways to make the multi-million dollars and stuff, and get the world to see, hey, this is what this culture came up with underneath all this pressure. But then after a while, they started so-called learning the code, so then they can then just copy the way that the dressed and the copy the attitude and mimic the attitude at least, and put it on people that didn't have the same history, and then have them walk down the runway and stunting like they from the hood, stunting like they pants always sagging, like type shit like that. So when it comes to this comment saying we are the culture, it is a big mix. Because then when you do look at black culture, it's a mix, because Biggie was Jamaican. A lot of black rap artists was actually Jamaican. KRS-One is Jamaican. So the culture, black culture, when it comes to music and entertainment, it's always been a mix of different people coming in. But what they're saying is, what this guy is saying with the FBA movement, is more credit on the front end instead of the back end. More credit on the front end, so that instead of being so that the identity can be more rewarded, instead of saying, oh, these people were just slaves, and then like everybody's, but they made some type of way and they just surviving. Is no, they help build this awesome thing. The people that were here, that were black, helped build this awesome thing that we appreciate now. And I think that is a very important thing to realize in the tall tale of things. Because even if those black people over time was a mix of indigenous people, people from the islands, even I don't think it was people from the islands, only because if they was bringing them to Virginia and Jamaica, I don't think they escaped from Jamaica back up to Philadelphia and Virginia again. I think they stayed down there for like a couple hundred years. So it was the ones that was in America, and ones in Jamaica, one in Caribbean, one in Colombia, Brazil, all of those. For a while, there was slaves brought from Africa, and then they were separate for a while. And you ever been in school? It don't take long for people to be in school and form a culture and say, hey, this how we act as freshmen. This how we act as sophomore. This how we act as seniors. And they even try to act like a senior, even though, I mean, a sophomore, even though it was just a freshman just a couple months before. They'll switch their whole culture, their whole idea and personality up based off of how they think the culture is around them. I got to fit in with the 10th graders. I'm not a 9th grader anymore. So I think it really was a culture divide with the Africans once they came to American slaves, because who they was mating with, they was mating with the people in the southern hemisphere, or they was mating with the people in the northern hemisphere. All that means something, because the people that was in the southern and northern, they had to deal with different weather conditions, different animals. They had to build different type of things to survive, different type of homes, different type of weapons. So even starting there, and then over time, since the ones in America was being oppressed, even in Jamaica, so they was being oppressed and put into slavery. It's just that in America, we was forced to build a lot more. Like past the sugar canes, a lot of Black Americans forced to build, and then after they wasn't forced, they came up with the ingenuity to actually make stuff like bridges and the traffic light and George Washington Carver, Frederick Douglass. I went to Frederick Douglass Middle School, so I had to learn all about him, even though it was wild because I had to get out of Frederick Douglass to go to another school because of how they treated black people. They didn't just because they didn't honor the school too much. So I had to go to Russell Conwell. And was Russell Conwell a white man? Russell Conwell. Yeah, he was a minister and an orator. Yeah. They'd take me out of that school and bring me into this school because they said that school wasn't going to teach me everything because they didn't have all the proper resources and stuff like that. So I can see literally what it means with like respect, like black culture in the name. Like at least if it's for Frederick Douglass High School, give them the amenities to teach the people in there. There's even a Martin Luther King High School in Philly. That was not a school that you always just wanted to go to if you knew what was up. You didn't want to go to Martin Luther King School. It was a bunch of fights and uncontrollable things because they ain't have resources. It was one of the biggest schools in the city, and they crowded everybody in there with limited resources, as I said 4 times. So I can see what this guy is saying when it comes to making sure that we're looking out for the people that help get us here in the first place. I really do see why that's coming up a lot. Just time now, just think about it. All right, what's something else people are getting massive opinions on?
All my black brothers and sisters, and more specifically my foundational black American brothers and sisters, why is it that when we go to Africa, they understand there is a clear distinction between them and us, but yet when Africans come here, we don't do the same? We think that if you in America and you have dark skin, then you black. And a lot of foundational black Americans just mindlessly let people from other countries speak for us as long as they look black. For example, Byron Donalds.
I would say speak for us. How about more people just need to speak up, period. Everybody speak up. Everybody just tie it on down. What was that first part he brought up?
They understand there is a clear distinction between them and us. But yet, when Africans come here, we don't do the same. We think that if you in America...
Yeah, and I think it deals with education, too. We're a lot more educated on genetics and how culture's been moving around than a lot of other cultures been educated on the earth, including ones in Africa. That's why they all think black people over here talk like, yo, yo, homie, yo, like, what's up, dog? Like, that's why they think everybody over here talking like that. Like, we saw it on the TV.
You have dark skin, then you
Not everybody.
A lot of foundational black Americans just mindlessly let people from other countries speak for us as long as they look black. For example, Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds does not have black American ancestry to my knowledge, but yet he presents himself as a foundational black American in this country. And because he presents himself in this way, it benefits him politically. Because a lot of black people in this country who see him talk think that he's one of us. But in reality, he's not at all. And I was shocked to learn, but not surprised, that when you look into where his money comes from for his political campaigns, it comes from foreign interests. And so to me, as a politician, he looks like the newest person we can add to the long list of individuals that look and sound like foundational black Americans, but actually aren't, and really are agents. Agents not of change, but agents working to keep us exactly where we are. All my black brothers and sisters.
See, that's another twist. That's another twist that I can see why people are promoting this more, is the political interests and trying to create more divide. And that, like I said, people just need to learn to speak up and use the technology that's around us that we helped create. Do something, even if it's not your voice, art. Be a part of an organization or something. or how you talk to people, how you pass on ideas. What ideas are we passing around in our everyday existence? That matters even more than the political overall bullshit. Just how are we talking to each other? Are we uplifting, and or are we like, man, you ain't shit every day? Talking like the former slave masters, bro. Because it's going to be other foreign interests that is going to want to come and pay a certain person to talk for people, and they don't have too much history to deal with them. And they'll get people to move or say, hey, yeah, they don't like how the watermelon was changed all around. The watermelon was a good symbol for African Americans here because they made a lot of money off of it. It started a lot of families being able to eat off the money made off of it. Everybody loved watermelon. But then it was certain people that started coming around and making black people look bad about it. And they was probably agents in a way. And now when you see black people watermelon, you think it's a bad thing, even though it's still tasty and delicious. It's a new mural actually in Philly where they use the watermelon for the Iran war and for to represent black people in America. Like they brought it all together. Where's it at? Oh no, it's not on TikTok yet. Yeah, it's not on here yet. Yeah, these are old ones. But it was one where the lady mouth, here it is.
I love my city, I love our murals, but this is so incredibly great. Do you see what the seeds are spelling out? The detail in my hand, I don't know who the artist is.
It says Free Palestine.
I love my city, I love our murals, but
yeah, but once it was done, it looks pretty cool. But it was about taking back the message, because watermelons in Palestine, that's the color of their flag. And their flag was getting banned in their country from posting it online. You couldn't do it. So they'll post a watermelon in order to say, hey, look, this is us. We're here, we're alive. Instead of other people step in for them and saying, yeah, you know what they got to do? They got to free those hostages. We had to let them in. Agents. Now go over, who was that Byron guy he was talking about? I don't know too much about this. I'm learning as I go.
How many people in the United States today are actually descendants of slave owners? Forget descendants of slaves. Let's hold that to the side. Descendants of slave owners. You've had massive immigration into the United States over the last 150 years. So now you're going to say that people who immigrated to the United States, who are not descendants of slave owners, were not descendants of that trade, now they're going to be responsible for paying that out going forward. My mother's Jamaican. My father's Panamanian. You have a lot of black people in this country who are not descendants of the American slave trade. So I already know off top, there's a lot of black people in America who aren't going to be able to get that kind of benefit or get reparations.
Well, most people who are for reparations, they feel like it should go to what they call foundational black Americans anyway.
And I agree with that point. But I'm just laying out, these are the reasons for why I'm no. So while I'm
so
now,
you do support reparations for what Leonard just deemed as, quote, foundational black Americans?
No, I don't. How many people in the United States today are actually descendants of slave owners? Forget descendants of slaves. Let's hold that to the side. Descendants of slave owners.
Oh, so he tried
into the United States over the last 150 years. So now you're going to.
I had to replay this.
Immigrated to the United States, who are not descendants of slave owners, were not descendants of that trade. Now they're going to be responsible for paying that out going forward. My mother's Jamaican. My father's Panamanian.
Oh, so he trying to stop reparations. Saying how you going to know who going to get it because it's too much of a mix.
You have a lot of black people in this country who are not descendants of the American slave trade. So I already know off top, there's a lot of black people in America who aren't going to be able to get that kind of benefit or get reparations.
Well, most people feel like it should go
I see why people mad at him.
Black Americans anyway.
And I agree with that point. But I'm just laying out, these are the reasons for
people saying Why is that his business? I'm an FBA. My ancestor lives are woven into this history. Just because those events aren't recent doesn't mean they don't impact us today. Even though they aren't descendants of slave owners, they still benefit from redlining, Jim Crow, Black Wall Street, and more. His argument doesn't make sense. It is estimated that there are more than 5 million firstborn, foreign-born black Americans. This group makes approximately 11% of the total black population. Yeah, that's only 11%. Yeah, he tried to say it's going to be confusing. Okay. What else he had to say?
My mother's Jamaican. My father's Panamanian. You have a lot of black people in this country who are not descendants.
This is like an extended version.
So I already know.
I'm looking, lady.
There's a lot of black people in America who aren't going to be able to get that kind of benefit or get reparations.
Well, most people who are for reparations, they feel like it should go to what they call.
Yeah, I had to hear what happened after they just cut the
And I
clip
agree
off
with that,
last time.
at that point. But I'm just saying, I'm just laying out. These are the reasons for why I'm no.
Look,
so why I'm so
they
now.
do support reparations for what Leonard just deemed as quote foundational Black Americans.
No, I don't.
No.
But I want to explain that. I want to explain.
And this, ladies
Hey.
and gentlemen, is why we want to.
I want to hear the rest of the
sabotage
clip.
these people. This is why. Get. He wouldn't even be able to sit where he's sitting right now.
Let's put
had it not been
Byron
for foundational Black Americans. He wouldn't even be able to wear that suit. He wouldn't be able to walk.
Breakfast Club. Hey, everybody just playing that one clip and stopping. I don't
I'll
play
tell you
games
why.
like that.
My mother's Jamaican.
Said absolutely not.
Everybody doing that. Hold on.
Important thing to acknowledge.
I'm
today
finding a
is
trend.
what's going to help black people going forward. And what's going to help black people moving forward is economic policy. It's actually
Okay.
wide open.
Found
to
another
policies
clip.
so we can be
It's probably all on
energy.
YouTube.
It's, yes, securing our southern border because we have a situation right now where, yeah, there are more than 15 million illegal aliens in the country. Where do they reside? Mostly in sanctuary cities like New York. Where are they at? Sanctuary states like Illinois, like California. What's happening in those cities? Hospital systems are overrun.
I don't know if this guy
Overrun
do
because we
what
have
he
people in the
talking
country
about,
illegally
though.
who don't have resources, so they're going into the emergency room. What are they taking up? They're taking resources from poor people in our country, whether they're black, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're white. That's wrong. What about education? We have a situation where in too many inner cities, kids are not reading at grade.
Yeah. So he's against immigration and saying how immigration makes it so that the people here can't get what they were supposed to get. So he's saying that immigration is like not always helpful, but then also saying that, all right, so now that it's not always helpful, just forget about getting y'all money or getting any reparations, so to speak. Yeah, people mad at him.
Is to hear what Byron Donaldson's opinion
But
is.
I think that's all they got on him. That's all they got on him. Because I don't see anybody else posting about him. All right. It was, let me go on. $154 Africa. See if there's one more thing we can run into.
The Eritrean and the Ethiopian girls would tell them, my dad told me I can't date Black Americans because I can never take you home because you're lazy. I can't say whether or not all my boys was lying and that the girl just didn't want to mess with him, but the narrative was there that one of the reasons why these women said they would not date Black, and I'm talking HBCU graduates, I'm talking, good guys, the reason why they would not date them is because their African dads told them, you cannot date a Black American man. And so when we're talking about breaking this cycle, we're talking generations that have to undo this trauma associated. So Dr. Joy Degree wrote this book.
Somebody said, my dad never
so
said
she wrote
that.
this book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. It's not a real like PTSD, but it's a thing, right? So she gives this example in one of her lectures. She says, you had two moms sitting at a basketball game, a white mom and a black mom, and the black mom looks at the white mom and says, you guys must be really proud of Johnny. He's doing a great job. And the black mom, and both boys are equally mediocre. Nobody's a rock star. White mom looks back and says, yeah, we're really proud of him. He's doing a great job. And so the white mom looks at the black mom and says, oh, you must be really proud of Kwame. He's doing a great job. And the black mom says, girl, he a mess in school. He got all these girls calling the house. He's doing this, doing that. Again, both boys are equally mediocre. Yet the white mom responds in a neutral, non-combative, non-boastful way. The black mom, as Dr. Degree describes, begins to demean her equally as good son. What do you think?
Well, that's kind of because of how they was treated by their moms and from their grandmoms and from their grandmoms and from the slave owners, or from being mistreated for so many years. People not poor when they got things going on for themselves for no reason. Like, things was put in their face, oppositions that they didn't have the knowledge to overcome. Or they just overcame life in different areas. Success is measured in many different rulers. So they probably just turned their success to something else. But over time, it comes down with the proudness that you see in other people, where they can look past what would be called temporary emotions, because they're dealing with the actual emotion instead of brushing over it. They have the tools to deal with that emotion as it comes around, the space to let the kid run around and break stuff and be able to replace it and stuff, instead of breaking and saying, oh, now we'll never be able to get nothing like that again. You know how much work we had to get for that? And then like putting it all on the kid. So that it breaks down their aspirations on what they think they can do with their life, because they always under this sense of control that's passed down. Like, I even see that with my moms and her moms. They went to a Prince concert. It was a Prince lookalike concert. They went to a Prince lookalike concert, and my mom was having a lot of fun, so much fun and my grandma, they don't go out. Surprised she actually went out, but it's her birthday. But she had so much fun, they put the spotlight on her and gave her the microphone, like the people at the show. So I'm like, oh, they had fun. She had a lot of fun. But then afterwards, 2 days later, she called me saying that her mom told her that she was embarrassed. She was embarrassed by what she did at the show. She didn't get crawled out by no security, nothing. They gave her, she had fun. I said she was embarrassed. I was like, oh, they just want to just sit there and just blend in with the crowd. My mom wanted to be there and really show, like, hey, I'm having fun. Like, and my sister was funny too. She said all the people was there acting like it was the real Prince. But how things is passed on in culture is really how we're going to pass ideas down to each other is what's going to make the difference. How we talk to each other on the big stage and on the little stage. Because then it adds up to people over here and, oh, this is how these people treat each other. When really it's not even like that 100% of the time. And then that causes whispers down the lanes. Let's see what else they got to say.
The black mom, as Dr. Degree describes, begins to demean her equally as good son. Where do you think Dr. Degree says that comes from?
Sound like his name is Dr. Degrade.
When the slave plantation owner would go to the black mom and say, oh, Toby's doing really good out there. He picking most of the cotton. He's doing excellent. The black mother would say, no, master, he's shiftless, he's lazy, because that mother knew in that moment that master was going to sell her son to another plantation. And so instinctually, she had to begin to talk bad about him, to demean.
Don't look too good for these people. They'll take you away. And then that passed down through different cultures over time, with the original meaning being lost because nobody after you like that no more. And then you get people that look like you that come over, and they look like you but they don't feel like you, so they performing differently. That can create the divide that we kind of see it now.
Him. And so we're talking enslavement ended in 1865, and these things are still happening today. DNA. And so this is the depth with which I'm talking about it, and we only talk about it on this superficial level, like skin bleaching cream is just beauty and that colonialism was just borders. We will never get past it until we begin talking about the depths in which it exists.
And how it's permeated into our soul.
There was an
and the way we
experiment.
thinking and the way we feel and what we
in our DNA.
Yeah, in our DNA. Wow.
There was an
Science.
experiment they did on some rats, right? These rats in a box. You know how you like to put rats in a box?
Yeah.
So they had these rats. These rats would come to this certain line and they would shock the rats. They would just shock them for months. Because every time they hit a certain area of the box, by the edge of the box, they would shock them and the rats would run back. They did it for months. So the rats had offspring.
Yep.
And then the offspring didn't even go to the line. The offspring, before they got, the offspring would never leave the box.
That's epigenetics, EPI genetics. That's how things changed over time based off of, don't you know that nature versus nurture debate? Is nature and nurture, there's no versus.
Because it was literal it was trauma.
So what Godfrey is describing is this type is what we
And
call.
scientists are not saying that it's proven with personalities all the way, but they have. I seen the study he talking about. They observed it with the fear of rats. So but scientists, they can't extrapolate all. They just can say what they observed. So that's what they observed. But you see it in people. You just like your daddy, just like your mama, you just like your granddaddy. They could never even met them before.
Epigenetics. Epi is the Latin prefix that means above, and so epigenetics
Above.
is this program that sits just above your DNA. So we call it. It's not a modification where they actually changes the DNA, but if we talked about it from a construction standpoint, it wouldn't be me knocking down a wall. It would be me painting over an air conditioning vent. It doesn't change the structure of the room, but it changes its functionality. We first learned about intergenerational
That's a
trauma
good way to.
when
Okay.
we saw clinicians
look
looking
at
at their rosters, and all their clients were the children of Jewish Holocaust survivors. These kids had never been in the Holocaust.
Right.
These young adults had never been in the Holocaust, but their parents were. As a result of that, we began to study how can trauma be passed down from a group to a group when that secondary group never actually experienced the trauma. And so what they found was that for these Holocaust survivors, they would go to their grandparents' house and they would have curtains over the balcony. They would tell them, don't tell anybody you're Jewish, don't let anybody know, because they were literally scared for their lives. That across generations implants on our DNA, like I described, this epigenetics.
Yeah, it passed down to growing up in the hood and then being scared of your own neighbors and people that live around the corner. And like, why are we so scared all of each other? Then people start praying on us and say, scared, I'm gonna make myself scary.
And when we're talking about these interactions and how we interface with one another, how we interface with others, it's not just about learning. It's about understanding that you deliberately have to make a decision that is different from your automatic thought, because it is ingrained in you to develop separation as a result of years and years and years. When we talk about people who moved from South Carolina to Chicago and passed for white, they weren't self-hating. They just wanted their lineage to live.
That's it.
They just wanted to survive. They knew that people were hanging from trees. My grandfather would see people hanging from trees when he was growing up. Yeah. And so if I had, I can't say I would, but if I had the ability to pass as white in 1921,
I would have passed.
I might have. That you reach.
Yeah, it was a couple movie artists I learned that was white passing back in the day. And then at the end, they revealed to everybody that they was black once they made all their money and stuff. But hey, they created generational wealth for their family, and they tricked everybody. Like, hey, how much more comedy can you want? I like what this guy is saying in the comments. He said, many people from Eritrea and Ethiopia prefer to marry someone from the same background because culture, religion, and family traditions are very important to them. They want to keep their language, customs, and traditions in the family. Religion is also a big part of life for many people, whether it's Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity or Islam, so families often prefer their children to marry someone with the same beliefs, as I said the first time. Also, in our culture, marriage is not only about two people, it also connects two families, so parents sometimes feel more comfortable if the person comes from the same culture and religion, not because you're black, American, or other country. Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that. People take their religion very, very seriously. Just look at how the Jewish people are. Or even how it was if you grew up as a black gospel church. Like I did. You didn't want to date a non-Christian so much. Like you wanted to pray for them. Even though in my head it didn't make a difference. But what was trying to be implanted was such a thing. So I can see that being around them, people taking that as hate. What, you don't like me because you black, because you African or this and that? And then the kids or teenagers not being able to articulate themselves. And this don't speak for everybody. Like, it doesn't speak for everybody. But just a few and far between. Oh, I like, shout out, I can't say his name. I don't know what that is. I just highlighted it right there. Shout outs, bro.
As much as I defend black Americans, I get stuff where they'll go, you're not black American, you African.
Right.
And I go, eat a dick? How about that? That's what I do. Because I'm like, what are you talking about? I grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's a very black city. Chicago's history of black Americans is heavy. Jack and Jill, you got the Chicago Defender. A lot of stuff started in Chicago.
The Obamas.
You know, the Obamas, Minister Farrakhan, he's like Nation of Islam. There's so much just so much in Chicago. And my father was an educator for 45 years at Malcolm X College. You know what I mean?
That's pretty black.
Yeah. Taught on the west side
Remember,
of Chicago.
I was mentioning schools earlier with black names that I had to go to.
45 years at Malcolm X College. You know what I mean?
Philly's a little different.
Yeah. Taught on the west side of Chicago. Right. My father had adult education programs for gangster disciples, Blackstone Rangers, and vice lords. Gangbangers knew my dad. You don't get no, and cats be like, yeah, your dad taught me how to read, dog, for real. We got your pops. I mean, and my mother was a nurse, an OB-GYN nurse who delivered so many people's babies. My mother was known in Chicago. So our blackness was mended with black Americans. Most of my friends were black Americans. And of course there were immigrants, because in the area I lived in Chicago was the most integrated area in Chicago, because Chicago's the most segregated city till this day, and Milwaukee is.
They said Malcolm X's mother is from Grenada.
So I was in both worlds, like you said, getting made fun of. They used to make fun of me all the time, and I remember this girl named Lois, and I will never forget her. I saw her not too long ago. I hadn't seen her in like 30 years. I remember I was mad about something. I was what 11, 12, and this girl Lois. She was heavy set at the time. And I remember she was treading water. We had a swimming pool.
Right, yeah. You well mentioned. Oh, my bad. I didn't have this up there. So y'all can see. All right, there we go. Yo, Master Creator, I didn't see y'all writing all of this.
And I said,
Look, wait, hold on one second. I gotta take a pause. Wait, on mine, I only see 4 comments. On my phone, I just brought this up. I see like 10. I don't see the same comments that y'all writing. That's weird. Is it like 2 different lives at the same time? Huh? Oh, wow. I just refreshed it. What the heck? It was 2 lives going on. Now I see all your comments. My bad. I was not ignoring you. Oh, My life is just like that right now. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Master Creator? I'm gonna stay on this one. Jeez. I'm sorry, I got light up after that. It's part of my culture. All right, here we go. Okay. Cultural engineering is also why religion is part of the system program. One thing that you will hear in the psychedelic community is culture is not always your friend. And he said Malcolm X's mother is from, Grenada. And I found out that's from the Caribbean. So, yeah, that's what I was mentioning before. Black culture, in period, is already a mix of different ethnicities. It's just that smart Alex like Regina Renee in the comments saying being children of black immigrant parents is not the same as being black American. That's okay, we're not the same. That's a nitpicker. Because his particular case, he doesn't have the genetics, but since he was born here, it's like being born in Japan. You're going to be black, but you're going to be Japanese because you're in Japan. So, that's all you know. That's literally all you know. Your parents teaching English and Japanese and probably some other stuff. So I'm Japanese. I don't know. That's probably a bad example. But the feeling is there. Oh man, but yeah, because his particular situation, he's embedded in the culture because he was born there. Is what I'm saying. He was born here, everything. But and the only advantage he had over people that I could see is that his dad was an educator, so he had money. So his son had more opportunities to be free with his lifestyle. So like he was in soul playing and stuff and wanted to be a comedian.
I said, yeah, they keep making fun of me being African. And she goes, and I will never forget, she goes, well, at least their ancestors weren't slaves. See, at least you have something to connect to.
Wait, I messed that all up.
And I said,
I gotta go back.
What's wrong, Gabriel? I said, yeah, they keep making fun of me being African. And she goes, and I will never forget, she goes, well, at least their ancestors weren't slaves. See, at least you have something to connect to. They don't. It's coming. And I go, wow, that's the truth. She goes, that's coming from trauma. That's coming from insecurity.
Yeah,
but you don't understand that as a 12-year-old. You're just like, they're just making fun of me. Most 40-year-olds don't understand.
Right,
no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just going to add to that. This is like that trauma I get now as an adult, but I don't think a lot of, like black Americans understand the trauma that also caused because, if you're participating, and you saw it throughout movies, you saw it throughout music. I mean, all of it kind of crapped on the black African immigrants who came to this. And anyone who denies it or says, as I saw in some of the comments, get over it. That was then. Whoa. Now we say get over it? Yeah. Now we say get over it? Like, there's a conversation there, right?
154. We all
Yeah, it's a spot where a lot of people are just in the air responding to the stimulus given to them. Just trying to fit in, just trying to be in the crowd, just being a kid. That's pretty big too. That Malcolm X's mom was Caribbean. Like I was mentioning, Biggie Smalls was Jamaican. His mom was from Jamaica. A lot of cultures already intertwined.
Black Americans, black immigrants, we're one people. We have, yes, different struggles from different sides of the world, but all together we are united. So, I hope that this discussion really helps to kind of end that. Yeah. And in some way, maybe in our lifetime, like we were able to see and experience a black president like Barack Obama and the contributions for so many other black Americans that we know about, so many black immigrants who've made contribution. There is enough to go around everywhere, for us to be together. And nothing ever takes away from the idea that the Black Americans who built the foundation and this horrible history in America, that nothing takes away the Black foundation that built this country.
No doubt.
And so this conversation is to be additive.
Yeah.
It's to be able to highlight that we are diverse in the way we are, in the way we think, in the way we are. The Black card, gone away. This idea that there is only a monolith of being Black should be gone away, because we're so many. Just like we vary in height, in ideas, in skin complexion, we're so many. So we should embrace all of Black Americans, Black.
Yeah, it's all about people knowing their own history. Like, if even people saw how the inventions of if Black Americans seen how the inventions of other Black Americans is benefiting everybody, that's a plus. That's a plus right there. That's a plus enough to say, all right, now I can go invent something. Now I can go do something, instead of leeching off the inventions of the past. Like, let's keep on building up some more things on the whole big scope of everything. However you identify yourself. But people that want to latch on to the foundational Black American group, this whole conversation too is not going to make sense unless you go back and see what I've been talking about for like the past 40 minutes or whatnot. Or else it's going to be broken down into some clips and shit. But
immigrants
going on regardless, because it's just a YouTube. It's a lot where people can just see how it's a big mix of everything going on. And when you really identify with yourself more than a culture, more than a group of people, then you'd be able to see how your movements influence the future than worrying about somebody else's movements influencing the future. Because it's just like being in a toxic relationship. Like, just calling out calling out each other for things, and then that's it. Just calling out each other for things. Like, let it go deeper. Like, why did we meet up in the first place? It had to be meant for something more than just that. And now people be feeling relationships at times. It had to be something deeper than us bickering. Like, the bickering is going to come about, but it's something more that we can have a conversation, so we're not going into these loops that appear every 60 days. I was watching this video talking about saying most people in relationships, they don't get into. It's not that there's stuff always popping up. It's one thing or a couple things pop up every every 60 days. And then they dealing with it in the same mannerism instead of changing up how they dealing with it, so that the loop doesn't return back on itself. Boomerangs. Okay. Was there anything else that I ran across? Or is there anything else that piqued y'all interest in the world related to anything? In the diaspora of human kindness, plant kindness, space kindness? I did run across this while we get prepared.
A team of researchers from Johns Hopkins University shows the active ingredient in magic mushrooms could help smokers quit the habit. NPR's Will Stone has more.
The study enrolled just over 80 current smokers who were randomly separated into two groups. One used a nicotine patch. The other ingested a relatively high dose of pure psilocybin just one time. At the 6-month mark, the psilocybin group had more than 6 times greater odds of being abstinent from cigarettes than their counterparts who had nicotine. Matthew Johnson at Johns Hopkins led the study.
I was surprised by the sheer magnitude of the effect.
Everyone in the trial also underwent 13 weeks of cognitive behavioral therapy.